Howdy, folks. My name's Daniel. I'm happy to present to you all with my persuasive presentation about journaling. Every class, there are notes being taken. Some people take their time to write the textbook down for verbatim, and others brisk by, writing down a general point they need to know. If the purpose is to understand the subject, then wouldn't the same method be applicable to understanding the human mind? There is a deep understanding of the ocean depths and the vast reaches of the universe, but the mind remains unfathomable as thoughts and emotions are an intangible presence. If we spend every night, just for a moment, to reflect and jot down in a journal our experiences during a day, then we might understand ourselves better with a new perspective by the end of it. Journaling down our thoughts and unbottling those emotions can be a healthy way of reducing stress. It can help reflect on our decisions and consider our general well-being. Speaking of notes being taken, I hope you all brought your textbooks with you to write down the information being presented because this is going to be a long one. Living life day to day without any outlet for unbottling emotions can cause long-term stress, and it's important to address and overcome the mental gymnastics of keeping these experiences corked up in the bottle that is the human mind. Now let's talk about the day-to-day struggles to overcome, the social engagement, having just general disagreements with people and friends, and to even the events that come as a sudden shock and cause trauma. So it's best to go through a routine, such as education and our general curriculum and even our occupation and career, because if we leave the stress unattended, then it will affect our performance overall, especially if we go into long-term detriment of unvented burden. For example, we talk about our behavior and emotional troubles like paranoia and a lack of trust in other people, and if we leave traumatic moments unaddressed, it will cause lingering pain, which will then cause difficulties with commitments for required tasks, such as lack of concentration on our education, in exchange for what I call a blissful distraction, such as social media and other forms of elation. And not fulfilling the duties entailed with the occupational role, that's something that we need to commit ourselves towards, trying to keep focus on our work rather than distract ourselves with blissfulness that doesn't really help overall with our productivity. Now, this distress within the mind will inevitably affect the decisions we make and may even cloud judgment on our own character flaws that may need addressing. So, for the moment, people make decisions on a whim that, upon reflection, can seem more important, but with more thoughtful investigation before going through with the choices made. The choices that range from minimal change to life-changing. So, for instance, the mouse in the room, where indecisiveness on decisions that accomplish the same goal can lead to basically not even deciding on anything at all when really accomplishes the same task. And there is a subtle impact of these poor decisions of really not deciding on anything or making just poor choices without thinking through them that can snowball into bigger problems, such as the elephant in the room. For instance, we need to consider the hedgehog's concept, which is the idea of basically understanding what is your passion, what is your economic drive, and as well as what you can be the best at in this life for your career. It's good to take all of those into account to be truly great at something productivity-wise. And the people who we associate ourselves with is also a very good decision to make, because we need to understand their impact and their influence on our lives to check if that's a positive or a negative influence. And there's also a lack of self-reflection at times when it comes to decisions, because there's the one-way mirror. When things fail, the finger points as others to blame because we can't take accountability for our own actions when we fail at something. But when we succeed, we point at ourselves because we can't basically make that leap to think that maybe other people have given us the opportunity to actually have this moment of achievement. We need to have some modesty. And the lack of self-reflection is very detrimental towards our social interaction with other people, whether through personal problems or the problems of those around us. So we need to talk about the social environment, such as our positive influences, such as cooperation and positive reinforcement and appreciating the good that those can have, because without that appreciation, we tend to have these negative attitude towards people because we take for granted that type of social interaction, because there's also the negative influence of being sabotaged or being stifled creatively, and we have to discern the bad. We have to really discern what is very helpful for our general well-being. And there isn't a meaningful way to appreciate the positive influences in life or make that point of comparison to understand the negative influences, but it is possible to at least review certain actions and perhaps look at it from a completed picture of events or writing a journal entry. Step outside of the daily routine and take a moment to review what has occurred prior to now. Whether it's important information or small moments, it gives a new perspective on the day and provides optics on the decisions made and address certain emotions that stifle the pursuit of happiness. And keep this in mind, situations don't need solutions in order to unburden the stress piled on from the day. Because withholding that tension causes a mental strain on the mind, which could then impact the performance of getting the situation solved. It's important to write a journal entry as an outlet to vent those frustrations. For instance, let's go to the social situations. If we examine the problem through our journal and we vent with passion, if we unload that emotion, and then afterwards make the leap to look at it from a new lens and consider all the information that has been brought to you in this journal, then you discuss to yourself, maybe if I thoughtfully listen to myself through this journal, then afterwards have a respectful dialogue with yourself. Try to understand that maybe the situation can be solved if I just get rid of that emotional aspect of it and then look at it from a new lens that could then make the best possible decision. This also can be applied to work situations, such as before, examine the problem, you vent with passion, but this time actually analyze the problem, actually look at it from all the different facets, and then afterwards get that motivation to get that done. And then you can have this explanation, maybe just giving feedback to your employer or giving feedback to your employees if they need to, what they need to know on the situation, and maybe possibly provide ideas to get it solved and to provide a solution. There is a frustration and emotion that is put forth in the journal that will allow the mind to de-stress and have some composed clarity in making decisions, because the difficulties in decision making can also be examined thoroughly by writing a journal entry and reviewed with a moment of self-reflection to find the outcomes as well as the morality with making this decision. So let's make an examination of the decision at hand. Decisions made in the moment. Take a brief moment to weigh the choices. A brief moment during the decision-making process. It's good to at least have some form of pause and then weighing each choices in your hand. Then afterwards, take a brief moment to review in your journal at the end of the day. Because it's good to at least see, okay, what could I have done better, and then I can apply that for next time. And then decisions that require some time before making a choice, just focus on certain aspects of this decision. Take some time, just write periodically to allow for well thought out choices. Just take your time. Be thorough about it. And then you can also apply this examination of the person, yourself. Reflection on your decisions, such as the outcome. Was it something that we wanted? And if it wasn't, then maybe review the process that we took to make that decision and see if we could do something better with it. And maybe we can even reflect on our own thoughts, the emotions and feelings afterwards. How do we feel? How do we take into account these complex emotions, and maybe even see our own behavior and composure because of it, because it's very important to at least maintain some positive reinforcement in the mind, to at least feel a sense of belonging, to have that composure to stay calm in a situation. It's because self-reflection is the aim of making a journal in order to review our daily activities and behaviors so that we can review what could possibly need improvement within our lives to bring about positive change. So it's important to review what it means to self-reflect. This presentation acts as a journal, so let's reflect on what has been reiterated. Writing our thoughts and emotions can unload life's burdens and reduce stress, to lessen the tension of possible life-altering decisions and ease the mind to a clear state of mind, and gain a better understanding of oneself and possibly benefit others seeking a similar solution. If only for a brief moment, and only perhaps even for a few sentences, to distill to life to the day-to-day experience on a blank sheet of paper, then there is the ability to reflect on life's moments and look at it through a lens that when it isn't even in the heat of the moment. It can be difficult to bear certain thoughts and emotions because life's experiences are unique to each individual. However, you might find that certain experiences are shared among others. To make a musical reference, if Joni Mitchell can distill life from both sides in only several verses, then it's possible to write a journal that distills the life that you have lived and what you want to live. I appreciate the valuable time you've given me by listening to this presentation towards the end, and I'll make sure to write this pleasant experience down in my journal. Thank you, and of course, since this is take 2 of the presentation, stay positive. This is Mildred, and this is Frank. Stay positive.